Okay, today on the show, we have Heather Ditlevsen with Lipton Luxury Living, which is with Compass here in Chicago. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about Heather. Now, Heather grew up as an only child in the western suburbs here in Chicago and moved to the city for college. She went to Loyola University, where she was studying pre-med. By the way, I had the same initial path, different college, but obviously I did not end up becoming a doctor, and neither did you. But after school, yeah, she nannied. I guess right before I got to organic chemistry, I was like, I got to get out. This is
I was my senior year, and I was like, nope, not for me anymore.
Well, I didn't have the chops for it. I'm sure you probably did, but I just didn't. But anyway, after that, Heather nannied for several years here in the city before finally taking real estate classes 2 years ago. She's a very outgoing, outspoken person and has always had an obsession with real estate. So she figured, why not just go for it? She knew she had the personality to succeed. She lives in Old Irving Park and loves it. She spends her free time binging new shows, checking out new restaurants with friends, and hanging with her best friend's baby, who is also the cutest thing since sliced bread. We should, what is the baby's name, by the way?
His name is Joey, and I'm with him constantly, and everyone in my life knows about Joey, and I'm basically a second mom. So
Joey is a great baby's name. I love that name.
And she's pregnant with another baby, so we're going to be auntie times 2. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, since Heather's already been talking, we welcome you, Heather. Welcome to the show. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. And true passion, me to already be interrupting and chatting. So here we go.
So just to give everyone a little heads up about what we're eventually going to get to, is we have some show notes. So we do our research before we bring on guests, and Zana, who's the behind the scenes, like she does 95% of this podcast, really. She always does research, and she gives me some talking points. And she said, Heather did $10 million in her first year of production, which if that was the truth, it would be absolutely insane. Turns out it isn't the truth, because she actually did 13.5 million in her first year, which is beyond sort of comprehension. So we definitely want to figure out how you got there, but let's go all the way back to the beginning. And, I know we mentioned a little bit about, why the switch from, pre-med into, to nannying to real estate, but what was it about real estate that really caught your attention?
Yeah, I've been all over, right? It's funny. I always thought I wanted to go to med school from, early high school on, and just never ended up working out that way. So yeah, I got a job nannying, and like I said, I've had this passion for real estate since I was probably 14 years old. I remember, being a weirdo only child looking on realtor.com at like houses in my parents' neighborhood, trying to convince
that is
them
weird.
to move. It is weird. I was like 10 to 14 years old. I'd be like, home on a Friday night looking at homes, like, what am I doing? But I promise I had friends. But yeah, so I, always had this weird obsession with it. And I was actually at my friend who has the baby. I was at her lake house a couple summers ago, and we were drinking beers by the fire, and it was, midnight, and we were just talking. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign up for classes. So at, midnight and sitting by a fire, that's how my career started, essentially. And I actually ended up signing up for the wrong course because I wasn't paying attention. And I had to call them Monday morning and switch. And, that's how I did it. And I did an expedited 6-week course. I did it for 6 Saturdays in a row. And it was, like 8 hours a day, and knocked it out of the park. And I ended up reaching out to a bunch of top producers that I had already kind of been following and knew the names of, Josh Lipton, whose team I work on now, being one of them. So I reached out to him on Instagram because I didn't have his number or email, so I did a little stalking, and I basically asked if he wanted to meet for coffee, and he asked if I had passed, the state test. And I said, no, I'm taking it next weekend. And he basically told me, well, reach out once you're passed. And I said, okay, fair, So I took it the next weekend and passed the first try. And so I texted him, I think 20 minutes after I got my test results back, with a picture of it, and said, let me know when you want to meet. And we did. We met the next weekend. We talked for about 3 hours, and he had just, he had been doing a lot of business and never had anyone. And it was just the stars aligned. I truly believe timing is everything. So he asked if I wanted to join him. So yeah, I gave the family I was working for some notice and started with him. Actually, tomorrow will mark 2 years exactly. I started with him February 1st of 2020. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It really funny too for the audience. We actually have interviewed Josh on our show. So this is just completely a coincidence because
Yeah.
Heather has made quite a name for herself since she started as being this amazing sort of up and comer or already arrived, I guess, at this point here in the Chicagoland area. And there's 45 or 46,000 realtors. So it's not like it would be, oh, we live in this small rural community. Everyone knows everyone and everyone knows Heather. A lot of people do know Heather because she's made a lot of strides, and also Josh as well, who's kind of a legend here in Chicago as well. But there's thousands of other realtors here in the area, and it just so happens that when I jumped on with Heather, I guess maybe I had known that you were with Josh Lipton, but I had forgotten. And so she was telling me about it. And I go, oh my gosh. And even the way I met Josh, we were talking about was just, I'm sure we can go back. We've actually interviewed him. We'll put a link to his episode because it was quite a good one, because his whole thing at the time was, he was like, I listened to your show. I think this, if I remember this correctly, he said, and you have all these guys who come on but they have teams. And he's like, I really do it all myself. And I would love to tell people how I do all of the production. And he was so great. And we loved having him on, and he's such a nice guy. And so I'm glad that you're with him. And so if you haven't gone back, everyone who might be new to listening to the show, this is like 3 years ago, probably. We interviewed Josh. So I'll make sure we put a link in the notes for Josh's episode, because it was quite interesting, because it is true that a lot of the top producers we have on have teams, and there's nothing wrong with that. Teams are great, but it's always cool when somebody can do it all by themselves. And now, of course, he's working with you, which is amazing. And I'm sure he's grown to need a team, where he got to that level and probably said, I can't really do more without a team. But boy, did he get to that level, and just a great guy.
Yeah.
So
I think, you have to join somebody great who has good intentions and can help bring you to that level. I mean, I owe, almost everything, to him. Obviously I do my own hard work, but you have to have somebody that's in support of you and helps bring you up. Otherwise, you're just another fish in the sea. So
and it's so unusual that somebody has as much success as you've had so early on without a mentor or a team member who can just help you, build your business, which I'm sure you do almost all of it yourself anyway. But having that kind of mentorship is so important. And it's really, almost a universal experience for top producers. It's very rare when I interview somebody who says, I just kind of did it all on my own without really a whole lot of help from anyone. And I don't have a team, or I don't have a mentor. It's really uncommon. So I want to use this as it. And I want to also mention how you reached out to him, which, by the way, you would think these top producers get a ton of these types of emails. They really don't. Carrie McCormick, who comes on our show every month, she's a top producer here and in Chicago, and as everyone who might be listening already knows her, she'll message. We talk before we go on every month, and she'll say, "Oh, I got 10 or 20 different responses from people on your show." But outside of that, she goes, you'd be surprised. Very few people ever reach out. And you had actually reached out to her as well prior. So I think there's a tremendous lesson there in reaching out to people who are doing well and saying, hey, can we talk? I just want to get some advice, or maybe there's an opportunity we can work together. So I just was curious, how many people did you end up reaching out to just to sort of talk to them before? Was it just those two, or were there a lot of other people?
Yeah, I reached out to about 5 or 6 agents. Carrie McCormick's one of them. Hi, Carrie, if you're listening. But I ran into her at an event that actually Josh brought me to my first week. There was like this fancy dinner. It was like a top agents panel. And he goes, I'm going to bring you with. I'm like, I don't think I belong here. Like, nobody knows who I am. And he's like, no, you're coming. And Carrie was there. And that was our first time meeting face to face, because we had only talked via like text and the phone. And I, maybe now she wishes I was with her. Just kidding. But yes,
she does it. She does everything herself too. She doesn't even.
I'm just,
so, but it is interesting that some people just function better as individuals, and she'll talk about that constantly. I'm like, you should have a team, and she goes, I know, but I'm too controlling. And then there's other people who are willing to say, hey, let's work together, and it works for them. But I think just this idea of a mentorship is so important.
It's everything. And I knew I didn't want to be on my own. I knew I wasn't going to succeed that way. I had, high hopes for myself. And like I just said, listen, Josh and I say it all the time. Anybody can get a real estate license, right? We're not performing heart surgery here. If you study and you pay attention, anybody can do it, right? but not anybody can succeed in it. So there's a difference, right? My entire family can go get a real estate license. That doesn't mean they're going to be good at it. I think a lot of it's internal. I think you have to have the personality and drive. And I think a lot of it's external, and you have to know, who to join and who to talk to, and swallow your pride a little bit and say, hey, I'm brand new. Nobody is going to hire me when I don't have a name for myself. Right. So yeah, like I said, I reached out to Josh on social media, and both him and Carrie said the same thing, that, I think his exact words were, wow, it takes a lot of balls to reach out to somebody you've never met.
It does.
And I was like, yes, so thank you. So I think he saw a lot of, passion in that. I think he said he was literally sitting on the couch with his wife, like watching Netflix, when my little message came up. So it really just worked out well. We are two peas in the pod. We're very similar. We're like brother and sister, the way we fight sometimes and talk, but it works well. And I think our clients appreciate that. We play a lot of bad cop, good cop, and we really bounce off of each other. It's been a very good relationship, and very, very grateful. So it's been a good start.
I'll tell you a quick story. This just happened to me, and this has almost never happened to me in I think I've been doing this 11 years, but I've been in this industry for 11 years. And I had a guy come in, he had just passed his real estate license, and he was interested in possibly joining our firm. Or I'm not even sure if he was interested in joining our firm, but he somehow found the podcast. And so he's been listening to it, but he set up an appointment to learn more about what our firm offers. And he came in and he goes, I absolutely need a mentor. I need somebody who I can go out in the field with, and they can sort of be there as a partner. And even though we have like 800 agents at our firm, I sort of thought, we're probably not the right fit, as much as I would love to say we're the right fit for everybody. But anyway, I said, I can bring you on board, and we'll take great care of you. And we have we have all these great trainers and whatever, but the coaching piece, the mentorship piece, we don't really have a good structure for that. And I said, you're really probably better off going to these top producers who, and we have some top producers too, but we said, why don't I go through my list of people that I know, and I can give you some suggestions of who you might want to reach out to. So he goes, oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. So we came up with 20 names that he had already made a list of people. And I went through it, and I said, here's 20 people that I sort of know. And he goes, I'm going to take them all out for coffee. And I said, I promise you, if you do that, you will have so many opportunities, because everybody wants to get that call that goes, I want to learn what he goes, I'll work for, maybe I'll just work for a small salary for now. And I was like, dude, in 2 years, you were going to be crazy successful, because he had the courage, like you, to reach out to people who probably don't really have time to respond, and people who do, and because so many generous, wonderful people in this industry. And you just reach out. But I think that's when people say, I'm looking for a mentor, my thought is, well, I can try to help you do that, but are you doing that on your own? And you did that. And I just think that's so awesome.
And that's what we did. I took him for coffee at Starbucks, and I remember I was so nervous, and he walked in with a giant Dunkin' Donuts coffee in true Josh fashion, sticking out. And I remember being like, this is going to go really well. It ended up working out.
So you grew up here locally. So I'm curious, out in the suburbs. I'm curious how you nurtured your sphere of influence. How important is your sphere of influence? Now, understanding that your sphere might also know that you just got a license, because you just recently got a license in the last 2 years. So was that difficult? Because I know we get this feedback a lot from new agents who listen to our show. They say, I know I'm supposed to work my sphere of influence. I know I'm supposed to stay in touch, but I'm really timid about asking for business, or rather even just sort of reminding people that I'm looking for business, because they know me. It feels weird to ask my friends. And then I also feel kind of like a fraud, because I don't know enough yet to really do a good job, and I don't want to screw something up. I'm curious if any of those things sort of happened to you as you were starting. Like, did you have any of those concerns about reaching out, or how did you do it?
I wouldn't say I had concerns. I'm probably more confident than I should be, but if any friends or family end up listening to this, this is no offense, but I didn't really tap into that, to be completely honest. I don't really have, listen, everybody has their own sphere of influence, right? Some people have a lot of really wealthy friends, like good for them. I don't, right? So, and for me, I'm not, I'm 28. So, oh my God, I'm 29. I just forgot I had a birthday. Sorry, I'm 29.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, a few weeks ago. When I started, I was 27, right? Like a lot of my friends aren't necessarily buying yet, or like, if they are, it's not like, it's not enough to like really like make my career go wild, right? So I mean, I've sold a couple friends' places and a couple, an ex-boyfriend's place, stuff like that. But
Sure.
I wouldn't say that was my main source
Source of
of
business.
reliability. No, it was not. And I did, of course, I posted on my Facebook and Instagram when I first got licensed. And it's one of my big 2022 goals is to market myself more, because I don't, it's worked out fine, but I did not nearly do it as enough as I could have. Because you don't want, your family's going on stuff to like see how your life is. You don't want to constantly be like, do you need to buy or sell? Do you need to buy or sell? Like,
Right. Nobody wants to be that person. Right.
No. And it's, you do it occasionally. I would say maybe quarterly, right? Just remind the people, and what I've taken away from it is it might not be your friends and family that are buying or selling, but maybe they're like, oh, well, my neighbor is, so like, it's more stuff like that I think could get me business, because if friends or family, they know, like my closest people, they know. I don't need to post it on Facebook. Like they know what I'm doing for a living. So, yeah, I mean, we can talk about it now or whenever, but I got most of my business through doing open houses, believe it or not. I would say.
Let's talk about that. So
we'll
how
right
important were open houses? Well, then, and how important are they now to your business?
It was everything. I remember I did my very first open house. I think the first weekend I joined Josh, it was a listing he had and he was doing it. So it's like, I'm not doing it by myself. So I went with him and I was in charge of making sure people signed in, and you're a little awkward your first time. So it's like, oh my God, do I talk to them? Do I not talk to them? Looking back now 2 years later, I'm like, there's a formality to doing open houses, right? Like some people are just not good at them. Like Josh will admit, like he's not good at them, right? Like he doesn't, you have to have the personality type to like want to talk to people without being too salesy, but like aggressive enough. And I will admit, like I'm very good at doing them. So I do an open house every weekend if I can. Like obviously if I'm out of town or sick, that's different. But in the beginning, I was doing an open house every weekend. I mean, Saturday and Sunday, and I still try to. That's where you're meeting a lot of unrepped buyers. At least for me, it was. I don't know for everybody, but you want to go after, if you don't have your own listings to do, there's a million agents out there that don't want to do their own open houses, especially big top producers, Carrie, Josh, whoever, like that's the last thing they want to do, so they're more than willing to let you do it. You say you'll do it for free and your price is keeping unrepped buyers, right? So, and some open houses are fails. I've done some where literally nobody comes, or one group comes and they have an agent. So it's, you don't know what you're going to get, but I did an open house for one of our listings 2 weekends ago. It ended up selling the next day. And I met
one of the people that came to the open house.
One of the people that came, they had an agent.
So it actually can sell a house.
It actually can sell your house. Absolutely. Yeah. And we got 10 grand over list, but just a little blur. Right. But there was, we had 35 groups come through. It was absolutely insane. 9 groups were unrepped buyers. And out of those 9, I am now working with 4 of them. So to me, that was, and I did it, I was there 2 hours. So 2 hours on a Saturday now.
Oh my God. So you have 4 clients out of it.
Yeah.
And if we say, let's just say the average commission, I don't know, like 10 grand or 7 grand, something like that.
At this price point. Yeah.
So that's like 30K right there for 2 hours of, now there's a lot more work that's going to go into it, of course.
Right. And some might not buy for 6 months, right? But I don't care. I mean, I don't.
Of course not.
My clients are long-term to me, right? I'm not going to sit here and be like, you need to buy in the next 30 days.
Of course.
So if they buy in a year from now, whatever, they're my clients and they will send me referrals. And that is all that matters to me. So, I'm just saying for anyone listening, do open houses. It is by far 100%, besides Josh, obviously helping me tremendously, with leads and stuff. That has been the number one way. And now I'm starting to get to the point where like, they're giving me referrals. Again, I haven't been doing this that long, but I've already had a couple of buyers give me multiple referrals, and now they give a referral. So at some point, and that's how these top producers get big, right? Especially the ones who've been doing it 20 years. It's just, at that point it's just referral after referral after referral. So,
amazing.
If you're looking for an easy way to do, and, for me being single and having no kids, or like, now is the time to hustle.
You've got more time. Yeah.
I mean, my friends are always like, is that what you want to do on a weekend? I'm like, what else am I going to do? Just sit on the couch, go out drinking? Like I might as well make some money. So
yeah,
I love open houses. Yeah.
and I want to drill down just a little bit on open houses, only in the sense of, when do you have people, I know this sounds so sort of like, inconsequential, but we get these questions a lot. People will listen to the show and they'll go, well, you guys talk a lot about open houses, but you don't get too specific. And I only want to ask just a couple questions about it.
It's okay. I will talk about it forever.
So when somebody walks in, are they signing in right away, or are you leaving them alone? Okay.
I have every agent does it their own way. And I learned what works for me and my personality type. And it's funny because clients I have gotten from open houses, like we will laugh and talk about it. They're like, yeah, some open houses we go to, it's like, hi, welcome, sign in.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants that. It's like, it's like when you go to a car dealership and they're like, hi, I'm Jeff. Can I help you? And you're like, can I just freaking look around for a second?
You walk into Banana Republic and the salespeople, they see, right. They see, and they're super helpful, nice, lovely people. Me, I'm like, I already know what I want. Like, if I need help, I'm coming to you,
100%.
But you do get that little bit of like, please don't come over and talk to me.
100%. Yeah. But I do make sure. So Compass has an app that there's an open house, section on it, and you can sign in. Sometimes I'll bring the iPad so that I can have it say now, but usually I just use my phone. We all have our phone in our hands constantly. So I don't do the old fashioned pen and paper. I did that for a few months in the beginning and I realized I couldn't read anybody's handwriting. And
that's a problem. It's a real problem. Yeah.
No, it really is. I would look back at the email. I'm like, I don't even know what this says. And it sucks because now I can't follow through. So Compass, if Compass agents listening, use that on your app because it is amazing and it'll automatically go to your CRM. Anywho, so at some point I will make people sign in, usually when they're about to leave, or, I'm a very good conversationalist. So like we'll be talking and, I'll kind of make a joke, like, don't forget to sign in so I can stalk you later, like I'll make some kind of joke and like they laugh and they like it, So, I'm very non-aggressive about it. And, I would say, if it's slow or there's only one group at a time, I obviously always get them to sign in, but every now and then a couple will slip through where I know somebody came in and out. I didn't get them to, like at this one, I was telling you, it was insanely packed. I mean, at any given time, there was 5 or 6 groups and, I'm trying to talk to them and, you see a couple come in, they do a quick walk and you see them leave and you're like, dang it, I didn't get them to sign in. But, it happens so rarely.
But people like that might not have even become a client anyway, right?
Right. Or like, a lot of times people come and they have agents. There's a thing on the app where it says like, are you working with an agent? Yes. So those ones I don't even follow through with, obviously they're working with somebody. So it's really only the ones that aren't represented, obviously. But yeah, you have to know the fine line of not being too aggressive, but making sure you get it. Like, and there are a lot of agents that are too timid. I mean, I was at the beginning. I remember doing my first with Josh. He's like, make sure they sign in. I was so awkward. I was like, what do I do? Just go up to me like, hey, can you sign in? But just make it part of your conversation and make it funny, or just say, if there's any other questions I can answer for you. A lot of times they'll ask certain questions and maybe I don't know the answer, what's the age of the roof? Oh, I don't know. I'll ask my client, make sure you sign in for me and I'll make sure to follow up with you. So,
And then what's the follow-up process for you? How do you do it?
So I always do it the next day. I don't like to do it right away because it makes me, it's like going on a date and text them 5 minutes after you leave. Like, too much, I
had a great time. Let's get together again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay,
let it breathe a little.
So, yeah. So, but if you wait too long, then maybe they really wanted you to follow through and now they're like, oh, well, she doesn't care. So I always do it the next day. Usually it's always via text. I don't like to do email. I'm a much more informal agent than probably most, which I think, we can get to that later. I think clients that I worked with appreciate. I think I'm very relatable and, I'm not the suit and tie. I'm not going to wear stilettos to every showing. Obviously I'm not gonna wear a suit and tie, but you know what I mean? I'm not the, I dress presentable, but I dress comfortable. And if I do a showing in sneakers, I do a showing in sneakers, but so I send a text, when they sign in, they have to give their name, their number, and their email. So I always send a text and I just say, hey, Jessica, this is Heather. And I usually put something funny, the awesome agent you met yesterday at, and I'll always give them the address so they remember. Maybe they met 5 agents yesterday. If they went to multiple open houses, they might have signed in at multiple places. So I always say the address they met them at, and I'll usually be super, super chill. Like, hey, let me know if there's any other questions you had about the listing. If this isn't the place for you, happy to help you guys, find something that fits. Love to set up a phone call this week and we can talk next steps. And that's it. It's super casual. I don't ask them, so what are you guys looking for? What's your price range? None of that right off the bat. If they want to work with me, they will. Again, I always relate things to dating, but it's like, if a guy or girl wants to see you again, they'll respond. If they want to work with me, they'll answer. And listen, I'd say 75% of the time they may not respond. So you got probably about a 25 to 30% chance of those buyers actually responding. So, and
so if they don't respond to your text, do you text them again or do you just let it go?
I do. Well, so it depends. So I'll give it a bit. I don't text, if they don't respond the first couple of days, I don't respond again. I'll usually wait a few weeks. I do another very casual follow-up, like, hey, just checking in. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Like, it might be 2 sentences.
Yeah.
And then after that, if I don't hear from them, I usually let it go. Like, a girl can take a sign. So, but I will say, I actually have a client right now, and I met them through an open house over the summer, sent her a follow-up. We were very chatty at first, and then they kind of, went quiet, and I just, whatever, maybe they're not looking, maybe they met somebody else, who knows, right? But I have continued once a month for the last 4 months. I have sent an email checking in. They reached out about 3 weeks ago and said, we're ready to start looking seriously. We're so sorry we've been MIA, dealing with a lot. So, it happens. So I would also tell people, just because somebody's not responding, it doesn't mean they're not going to reach out ever. I would keep sending those monthly follow-ups. Don't do more than that because you're going to annoy them. But monthly follow-ups, very simple. Just here if you need me. Don't do anything crazy. And they'll remember your name. And they actually appreciate it. Like, her and her husband were like, yeah, you've been following up. We like that, so. Yeah.
And do you only do it with see, it's so interesting because we think, especially for anyone listening that might be middle-aged,
sorry.
No, by all means, people who are middle-aged or even not necessarily that old, but I know for me, I just assume people read their emails, and of course they don't. Most people don't read it's like, I'm shocked now texting is really the only way I have a much higher probability to getting a response, just from my friends even. And it's funny, we have, like I said, we have about 800 realtors at our firm. And today we had to send out a policy update. We just made this like new rule about something. And so we needed to make sure that people knew about it. So of course we sent out emails to their work email and also their personal, just because it was important enough that they really see it. And then we've done this long enough to go, we also need to text everybody because it's just, people don't read their emails. So that's another, great suggestion.
Yeah. And my friends in marketing, actually, she just told me this literally this week, that 95% of people open their text within the first 2 minutes of getting it. So that's another thing why, if somebody doesn't respond to me right away, like, I know they probably see in it, and they either just don't want to respond right now, or, like I said, same thing. I've had people respond a week later, a month later, months later. So I would just say, don't give up. Just because somebody's not responding doesn't mean they don't want to work with you. You never know what somebody's going, you don't know. Somebody could have lost their job the next day after you met them. Somebody could have had a death in the family the next day. And now here you are being like, you want to buy a house, so, you have to take it with a grain of salt and know that they'll reach out if they want to.
Let's talk about new construction, because I know that for a lot of newer agents, that is just a foreign sort of thing. It's like, I know top producers can sometimes get these sort of relationships with developers, and they get to sit at, maybe if there's a sales center at a particular development, or I just get some of their listings or whatever. It's not that common for a newer agent like yourself to the industry, especially for as young as you are. It's really impressive. So I know our audience is really excited to hear about your take on new construction and how you sort of got involved with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll contribute it to Josh. So Josh is for everyone listening, Josh, and hopefully me one day, is a developer as well. So I kind of walked myself right into it. And that's a huge reason why I reached out, because I knew he was kind of just starting his developer role as I joined him. He did his very first project. Literally, it completed a few months before I joined him. So I really joined him at like his peak time. And now, if you guys can see behind me, all of these pictures are actually all of our projects, our buildings that we have built. So it's been crazy. We have like 4 just this year coming up, 4 new buildings. So it's wild. But yeah, for me, obviously, I kind of walked right into it, right? So Josh and I do a ton of new construction. Like I said, he's developer on them, and then obviously also we're the brokers. But I have, because we work hand in hand and he's the developer, like I have a lot of hands-on experience that I know. I've talked to plenty of agents who've been doing this 15, 20 years that still are kind of, unfamiliar with new construction, because it's completely different than your average resale, right? There's developer contracts, that you put offers on versus your regular, car contract, or, it's a completely different ball game. So, it's been really, really cool to be a part of that and to see on the back end. I mean, again, I still don't know everything. Trust me, I don't, but I know a lot more than probably your average agent. And it's been cool. There's agents in my office that have even come to me and been like, hey, I have clients buying a new construction. Do you have any suggestions on what we should look for during, showings or final walkthroughs? And, it's cool. You don't want a developer that's, you always want to look for a 1-year developer warranty. There's a lot of, won't swear on here. There's a lot of bad
You can
developers
swear.
out there. There's a lot of bad developers out there. And so, you want to look for certain things. And, the reality is a lot of new construction is sold before it's even, on the market or
Completed.
complete,
Yeah.
right? A lot of,
Yeah.
I'd say 50 to 60% of our stuff has sold while either it's in the framing stage or the drywall stage. So, and for buyers, that's scary, right? Because they might see renderings. We hire, a person to do renderings for us to show, buyers what it's going to look like, because we see the vision, right? I can tell you, okay, yeah, powder bath, kitchen, whatever. But a buyer's like, what the hell is this wall for? So, but it's still hard for them on a rendering to see that. So, that's a huge part of it. You got to sell the image to people, right? And it takes a special person to sell that, because, we walk into a building.
You're selling the dream.
I'm selling an image that they can't see. So, Josh and I think we stand out because a lot of developers that, we know personally, and this is nothing bad against them, but a lot of developers will hire an actual, interior designer or whatever to do stuff. And Josh and I do all that ourselves, from the tile to the paint colors, the type of baseboard.
So you know
to the
everything
counters.
about the property.
I know everything. I can tell you where to go get counters. I can tell you what lights to do. Like, we pick everything, literally everything. We don't hire anybody. So, we're both very hands-on. I mean, I'm at Studio 41 with him, multiple days a week when we get to that phase of the project. Like plumbing, we pick it all. So when our projects are done, I can truly say, like, we designed this. Like, not a single other person besides him and I has a say in any of that stuff. And we know what buyers looking for, right? Like, I know what's in, I know what's going to sell. So why would I hire somebody else to do it when I know better than anyone?
So I'll have to ask you, because I just bought a new construction place. So I went basically all white, like white walls, white quartz countertops, white cabinets, or all variations of whites, and then all of the fixtures are all dark and
black.
We have used matte black. So it's funny that things, especially fashion and just sort of aesthetics, of course, rotate and change and evolve. And so I was thinking, like, it's so cool what I like now, the way I think of it, knowing a little bit, just tiny little bit about interior design. I'm like, oh, this is so cool today. And I wonder in 10 years, are people going to walk in and go, what were these people thinking? And then I realized, of course they will. Of course they're going to do that. That's the nature of evolution of aesthetics. But that's why it's really important for, I think, agents to know what's in now, or how to correct what was in 15 years ago, which is now being sold.
Yeah, we sell, obviously we do other, resales and stuff. And a lot of the early 2000s is that cherry color, right? You all know what I'm talking about.
I had it in my first place.
And the cherry cabinets. And when you walk in, you're like, holy shit, it's a lot of cherry.
That's what I had. Yeah.
And the granite, the dark granite counter. So
I had a dark granite countertop.
Yes. I can picture your place.
Yeah.
Another thing Josh and I are really good at is, because we work with a lot of contractors and stuff, we have people for everything. You need new counters, I got you. You need to know where to get lights, I got you. You need a guy to paint your cabinets, I got you. Like, I literally got you covered on every front. So I think that's another big thing we bring to our clients that, I've been able to, like, that's scary for a client. We have a lot of clients who buy, obviously not only new construction, but they might buy something that needs a complete gut. And they're like, holy crap, where do I start? Like, I don't even know where to get tile. And like, it's, what are you gonna do? Like, Google like best tile person in Chicago? That's overwhelming. So, that's a huge selling point for me.
Huge.
I think that's a huge thing that stands myself and Josh out for compared to other agents, because if you don't do that a lot, like, not only do we do new construction, but I would confidently say 80% of listings we get, we convince our sellers to do some sort of work, and some of it's like total reno, like kitchens, bathroom, floors, like everything. Sometimes it's maybe just new counters. Sometimes it's just painting, like whatever it is. And we've done, every level of it. But like I said, I'd say 80% of our listings we do, because again, we know what sells. So sure, could we walk in and say, don't do a lick of thing, we'll schedule photos tomorrow, we'll list it, but it might sit for a little bit, because guess what? people don't want to do work. That's the reality. People
No.
are lazy and they don't want
Yep.
to do work because they don't know where to start. They don't know who to call to reno a bathroom. They don't know who to call for new countertops. They just don't know what to do. So, when something's already done, it's that much more appealing. And a lot of times sellers, they get stressed out, like, oh, especially if they're living there, if they have to live through the construction and the dust. And don't get me wrong, it is a pain in the ass. Like, I'm not saying it's not, but when your house sells for 50K more, you're going to thank me. So, that's another thing that I think stands myself out is, being so new in the industry, because we do so much of that on listings. I have a plethora of contractors I can give you, like I said, for anything. And I myself I'm not a licensed interior decorator, but I have a good eye for stuff. So I've had clients come back after they've moved in and ask me for my opinions on stuff and ask what paint color should I do? And they actually listen to me. So it's nice.
Well, I just think how valuable that is when you're going around showing older properties to your buyer clients, and they go, "I hate those cabinets," and you go, "No, don't." And then you get to say, "Oh, that's just going to cost $2,000 and it'll take a week or something."
100%.
And then all of a sudden you're like, "Don't worry, I've or that old sort of goofy granite countertop that has the weird colors in it. Don't worry,
so
we can
gross.
swap that out with something different, like a white one or whatever." And that's another $2,000. Like, don't worry, like we can fix all this stuff.
Right.
And
Clients
I
appreciate
think
that. Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of realtors have enough knowledge. They know that can be done, but you have the ability to really say, "Hey, we do this kind of stuff for our own developments. We know how to get this done for you. Like, really, it's no big deal. Don't let that stop you from this particular property, because we could swap all that stuff out." And very few agents have that knowledge.
Agree. And we're paying, maybe 60, 70 cents on the dollar for a lot of stuff too. And that's appealing to them. Like, hey, you're not going to get ripped off by somebody walking into some, granite place and picking out counters and they're upcharging it, which I can guarantee you every place does, because you're a new customer. And what do you know? You don't know how much a slab of granite costs. So I know how much it costs, and it's funny because we had a client actually this summer. She redid her master bath, right? And it was beautiful. She did a great job. And, we asked her how much, I'm like, curious, how much did you spend on this? And she told us something wild, like 30 grand. And it wasn't that big of a bathroom. And I go, 30 grand. I go, are you kidding me? I go, this should have cost at most 8 to 9. I'm telling you that. And she looked at me and she goes, seriously? I go,
"Oh no,
I probably shouldn't have told you that, because now you're going to kick yourself in the butt. But I don't know who the heck you hired, but and that's the truth though. Like, people will pay it because they don't know what it's supposed to. Oh, 25. Okay, it costs 25. It's like, no, it doesn't cost 25. So,
and ultimately, even if it's after the fact, I think most people, this is just the psychology. I think most people want specialists in their life, even if their specialist is going to tell them something that they can't change or fix. But the specialist like you goes, you sadly, I think we could have done this a lot cheaper. And I would think next time there's any sort of opportunity, you're going to be the person they contact, because now they trust you. You told them something that unfortunately maybe wasn't, like, for somebody who's worried about offending somebody, they might say, I'm just going to keep that to myself. But you said, no, that's the truth. And you need to know this. And I'm sorry that you sort of maybe paid more than you should have, but next time just call me, because we can do this better. And of course, 100%. The average person's never, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if I was getting ripped off.
And you don't, you're not going to question that, because then you look like you're being cheap, right? Like, oh, does it cost that? Like, you just, so people don't.
Before I bought the condo I live in now, I actually reached out to several of the people I've interviewed on. We have 800 agents at our company, like I've said. So I have plenty of people to ask here, but I said, I want some outside opinions. And I literally, because I'm like, I don't know. And I literally reached out to 3 or 4 producers that have been on our show. And I go, I'm thinking about buying this. Is this a good price? Or, like, I don't know. And I'm so grateful I did, because they told me. And I, as somebody who's, I'm technically a realtor too. I've never used my license, but the reality of it is I'm like, I better ask around. And so I think this is the value of gaining this knowledge, is you get to become really valuable to people.
Yeah, you do. And that's, it's funny. I was interviewed by Chicago Agent Magazine last month, and there was a question, I think, in there that said, everyone asked me, what makes you stand out, right? And it's true, because there's so many agents, right? Why would Jessica hire me over somebody else, right? So you have to bring value to somebody's life. And I was listening to this motivational speaker that Compass had a couple of months ago, and he said something along the lines of, so many agents and anybody in any sales job really make it about them, right? Like, what are you guys
Yes.
doing for me? How are you making me money, right? And yes, at the end of the day, your clients are making you money, right? This is our job. This is how we make money. However, like that's not the tactic you have to go into it. You have to change your entire mindset. And he said something that really stuck with me. And it was, he was basically saying, find something that your client likes, enjoys over the course of showing them, right? You get to know your clients, right? Are they into gardening? Are they a big cook? Whatever it is. And he goes, even after the sale is done, when you send your quarterly follow throughs or twice a year follow throughs or whatever, bring up something that is applicable to them, right? If they're really into dogs, ask how their dog's doing. Maybe send a treat to their dog, like something
Sure.
that makes you that think, wow, she actually listened to me and I'm not just another, and the reality is, DJ, a lot of agents send out these, not to shoot on agents that do this, but like the postcards that are like Merry Christmas. And it's like, let's be honest, nobody gives a shit about this postcard, right? They're looking at it, oh cool, Alex sent me a postcard, trash. Like nobody
Yeah,
cares.
along
Like,
with 20 others that I receive from different
yeah,
other people who want my
right.
business for other things.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will never, quote me now, I will never send a single client a Merry Christmas postcard, a Happy New Year. I would rather send them a personal text, ask how their daughter Marianne is doing or whatever it is. Even if it takes me 10 times longer to send out individual texts versus just like, somebody printing cards and having my assistant mail it, like that's the reality of it. And a lot of these top agents, they don't make time for it. And I think that's sad. I'm not saying all of them, trust me, but I think the busier we get, we become less and less personable. So like for me, I'm not, at that level yet, but it's nice because like make the habits now. I am on one-on-one communication with every single client I've helped in the last 2 years. I've never had somebody else send a letter for me or a text. And I think you just have to keep it personal, and otherwise they're going to forget about you and they're not going to refer you out, right? Because they nothing about you stuck to them. You're just somebody who helped them buy a house. So
Do you store personal information about
yes,
them in your CRM, where so you can
yes,
go in and say, oh, this person has 2 kids and they're around
yes.
this age and they're into gardening and
And I'll tell you what, it sounds dumb, but people appreciate it. So for example, in the open house app, when I have people sign in, there's a note section and I will put in there, lives in, Roscoe Village now, about to get married, daughter started new school. Like I'll put little stupid notes. And so when I go to follow up with them, it comes in play. You're like, hey, it's Heather. I know you guys are looking for a new school for Marianne, like personal things. And I'm telling you, they're like, holy shit, she listened to me, So it takes 2 seconds to write a note, make it personal, make it seem like you're there for them because you are. At the end of the day, you are there for them. So, I think that's key.
yeah, I 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it's what we're really talking about, I think, is fundamentals, right? It's so much
Yeah.
about doing the personal fundamental stuff that people feel special
Yeah.
once it's been done to them. And I think it's hard work. Like you said, it might take 10 times longer to
Yeah.
send out personal texts or even to call
100%.
people, but they're not getting that many of those.
No.
They're
And,
really not.
yeah. And for me, I might only have 30, 40 clients. So it's like not that much. Obviously when you've been doing this for 20 years, you have 5,000 clients, or whatever the number is. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot of work. And I get that, but like you're not texting everybody every day, and that's why you have a CRM. And I really started utilizing that the last like 4 or 5 months only. I'll be honest, I was really bad at it. And now it's very organized. I put everybody's birthday in there, just, the stupid stuff that you want to tell people that you're like, I simply cannot keep a track, in my head, obviously. So
I mean, I was thinking, so you have everybody's birthday. So,
I have everybody's birthday.
every day you probably wake up and it tells you this is so-and-so's birthday.
Yep.
I'm curious. So obviously we all have birthdays. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, now I'm in this industry, but there's a lot of other industries with salespeople who are trying to get business. Could be a financial advisor, an accountant. It could be anything, lots
Yeah.
of insurance. I mean, a million types of people who would probably like to have someone's business.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about, I never get prospected by almost anybody. And not only that, I not only almost never get prospected, I never get text messages.
Yeah.
Certainly I never get personalized text messages. I don't even get personalized text messages, and nothing against the people like in my life, that my accountant and my financial person, like they're all wonderful. I love them. I don't expect anything from them. They're great. They've earned their place, but I don't even get text messages from them.
Yeah.
And
It would be nice to have. Yeah.
Well,
But
it's not that
it would be nice
it's
to
not
have
that I
them.
need it, but I'm just saying it's not that I need it from people I've already hired, but I do love it. But what I'm saying is it's not crowded along what's that? It's that book Scott Peck, I think, wrote in the 70s called It's Never Crowded Along the Extra Mile or something like that.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
legitimately is never crowded along the extra mile because
No.
people are going to send postcards at Christmas. They're going to
Yep.
send they're going to send these monthly email newsletters about real estate that their company
Yeah,
put
I cannot.
together.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's fine. I mean,
yeah.
whatever. If that whatever, but how many times did somebody during COVID ever who wasn't my close friend reach out to me and say, "Hey man, how are you doing with how are you doing
Yeah.
right now? Like
Yeah.
how's your job? Everything okay?"
Yeah.
Other than my friends and family, not
Yeah.
zero. One person, the person who
Yep.
cuts my hair, who I'm seeing tomorrow night. She is the only, and I've been with her like 10 plus years, and she
Yeah.
absolutely does not have to do it. And she's the only one that said, I was just thinking about you. How are you doing? How's everything going? And it
Yeah.
really meant a lot to me. And right now, guys, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Like this is still an opportunity where you can demonstrate
Check
care
in.
and compassion
Yeah.
and just go, hey, I'm just checking in. How's everything going? Are you still working from home? What's going on?
Yeah.
And develop a deepen those relationships. I love the fact that you do that. I think that's
Yeah. I'm definitely overly
huge.
communicative, and that's something I think that stands out. I always tell people I never want my clients to have to reach out to me. And so
Yeah.
everyone should take that advice. You never want your client to have to text you and say, "What's the status?
Yeah. What's
Where's my
going on?
loan
Yeah.
at?" If they text you, you're doing something wrong. You need to be on
Yeah.
top of it and say, "Hey, morning, just wanted to let you know, inspection report just came back. Let's hop in a call at 5 o'clock today and go over everything," whatever it is. My clients should never, ever, 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 unless it's something random that think like that they have a question on. But if it's something regarding this, the normal sale process, I should be letting them know. Like, and I am definitely overly communicative, but I'd rather be that way. And for any clients of mine that may listen to this, I'm going to send them this little podcast. They know, like, I will send them messages just randomly and be like, "Hey, just checking in. I know the market sucks right now and there's nothing, but just saying hi, like, I'm
Yeah.
still here and I'm still here for whatever you need." And they need to know
Yeah.
that, it's important. You don't want, and no one should feel like you just forgot about them ever.
And I think you're also talking about anticipating needs ahead of time and
Yep.
realizing that the process for buying or selling a home, no matter how, if it's somebody's first time or their 10th time, it's still incredibly stressful. It's still a roller
100%.
coaster. Something's going to go wrong at some point in the process. Some
Yep.
wrinkle's going to happen where the client's going to freak out because of
Yep.
course they will.
Yep.
And this is where I think anticipating in advance, oh, this is the part, oh, I just got some news that I have to give to the client, they're going to freak out, so now I
Yep.
have to make sure that I already have a sort of a preconditioned response to
Answer.
say, hey, I
Yeah.
know you're going to freak out right now, but don't, and here's why.
Right.
And this way, because I think so many clients, and I know this is for me too, I'm in the industry, and when I just bought a property, was not my first property, and I was freaking out. I mean, everything
Yeah.
was going well, and I was
Yeah.
freaking out, and I was like, oh my gosh, am I making a big mistake? What's going on? And
Yeah.
and ultimately, I had to ask people, and I'm in the industry, and
Right.
I had to
Right.
ask, and I'm like, man, if I sort of know what's going on and I was completely freaking out, the average buyer and seller, no matter how successful or not they are, whether they're a top CEO of a company or if they're, have a more normal blue collar job, whatever the situation is, they're probably freaking out too. And if you
Right.
can come and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. Here's what's going on. Because you're right. I now work for him, but many, many years ago when I bought my first place, I wasn't in this industry. And
Yeah.
my friend was my realtor because we work
Yep.
with our friends. And
Yep.
Nick had that
Usually.
same yeah, Nick, who is my realtor, he had the same policy where afterwards, when I started working for him, I go, boy, you were a really great realtor. And he said, oh, I don't know. He goes, it's a lot about just customer service. And he said,
Yep.
he goes, he had the same exact goal that you had. He said, I never wanted my clients to have to call me first. He goes, that was my
Never.
only real goal. And he goes, because of that, people just thought I was right on top of things. So
Yeah. You have to be, and you should be sending them, updated email. Like, yeah, I could talk about it forever, but always be one step ahead of your client.
Asking for referrals. Do you do it or not? Curious.
So I don't, and I
Yeah.
should. It's another. I also
But should
don't
you?
have. I
Do you think you
mean,
should?
so I think listen. I am not the pushy type of agent,
Yeah.
salesperson, whatever you want to call it. There are agents that will do that. You'll finish a transaction. It'll be closing day. You say thank you so much for your business, whatever. And a lot. I mean, I know agents who they kind of send like a formal email at the end, and like there might be the thing in there that says, obviously keep me in mind for referrals. It's a
Sure.
casual. It's not like pushy.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
even do that. The way, again, back to what I said earlier, the way my head works is if they were impressed with me and they think I did a good job, if they're out at dinner one night and their friends are talking about buying a place, my name's going to come to the head. I'll give you Heather's number. It already has happened. If they
yeah,
weren't impressed with me, then they're probably not. And guess what? I don't want their client's business if they weren't impressed with me, because that's not a good way to meet somebody. Like, she did a
yeah.
shitty job for us, but here's her number. So, I mean, I don't push it as much as I probably could. Maybe, I could start giving prizes. You get $100 gift card if you give me a referral, but
Well, some
I
people do
don't.
that. I mean, it's
They can,
obviously
and I,
there's different approaches, but I
100%.
I used to work in a sales capacity in the finance world a million years ago here in Chicago, and we talked to one of the top guys in our office, and it was a very top tier sort of white glove type of firm, which is very professional and not super salesy. However, anyway, I asked the one of the top guys there. I said, "How do you ask for business?" He goes, "If you do it right, you don't have to ask." Now, I'm not saying
Yeah.
this is the answer for everyone, but he said, if you
Yeah.
do it right, you don't have to really ask,
No.
because you have to demonstrate value. And if you can
Yes.
demonstrate value, eventually people just go, "Oh yeah, of course I'm going to use you."
100%. And even like Josh and I, more so Josh, than maybe like he'll have clients, or I should call them clients, friends that'll ask. They know he does a lot of new construction and rehab, so if they might not be looking to sell, they just want to redo their bathroom, right? They'll ask him for his opinion. Well, guess what? Maybe they'll sell in 3 years and they remember Josh being helpful doing their bathroom. So, and I have that too. I have a friend, my one good friend actually, she's like trying to buy her place, and she's like, if I redo everything, I'm hiring you because I know you know what you're doing. I'm like, yes, thank you, $100 an hour. But yeah, no. But yeah,
Well,
it's nice to know that you bring some value to somebody's life. Everybody in
then
every field should feel that way.
so what is your policy? So after the sale, you still have
Yeah.
their birthdays. You those are
Yeah.
obvious times to reach out. Are you considering doing other things, like some people call on the anniversary of a buy or a sell and be like, "Hey, it's your anniversary." Or
Yeah, I mean, I I haven't done that. Pardon me, I haven't done that yet. All my sales have been last year, so I haven't hit like the 1 year.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, some of them are coming close, so I guess I could. I never really thought about that. I just I stay in touch with everybody though so frequently that I don't feel like, the agents that do that are usually the ones that like they won't talk to you and they send you this like robotic email or something. Like, I don't know, like I am in touch with. I'll just text them for the heck of it, like, hey, just checking in, everything good? Like, I'll randomly ask them like, hey, everything's set up with the HOA. Like, I may remember a problem that came up, so like, I don't know. For me, I feel like I talk to them enough, like randomly, that I feel like I don't need to send some robotic, like, happy 1 year, I mean, it's cute and all, but like, do they really care? Like, but
Right.
birthdays, I think are smart. And even on my CRM, it'll send me an email a day before. So I set it up, letting me know like so-and-so's birthday's tomorrow, but I won't send, like, I'm not going to send it to on the email. Like, I'm going to still send you a personalized text. The CRM just
Yeah.
reminds me, like, again, the email, like, who wants their realtor sending them an email? Like, that's so unpersonal. So,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, texting is everything, especially, myself being a millennial. I attract a lot of millennial clients. So I feel like, let's be honest, we're all on our phones all the time and we text
Yep.
constantly. So you also have to know what clientele works for you. I'm not going to go after, that's another big thing I would tell new people, like, know what works for you. If you're new in the business in your 60s, like, go after that sphere. They probably, they're not first time buyers in their 60s. They probably have a higher price point. Like, good for you. Like, go for it. For me, it's friends, family, or like I said, people at open houses I feel like I connect with, are the ones that reach out are the ones that I connect with, right? I've talked to a million people at open houses, older couples that maybe we have a little language barrier and everything, seems nice, but they end up ultimately, they're not going to be the ones that work with me because we just didn't connect on that level, right? If someone mostly speaks Spanish, I don't speak any Spanish, like, they're not going to they want somebody they can speak Spanish to, right? Like, so you have to know the clientele that vibes with you.
I want to ask too about rentals, because
Yeah.
as you mentioned, a lot of your friends and people in your age group maybe aren't yet buying. I know, I bought my first place. I was one of the last people of my friends to do it, and
Yep.
I was 30 and at the time
Okay.
when I bought
Yep.
my first one.
Yep.
So I would have been a renter, and I never used a realtor when I was a renter because I just found things I didn't really even think about it. But
Yep.
had I had used a realtor when I was a renter, and if they would have stayed in touch and said, "Hey, you should be buying a place," and quite frankly,
Yep.
being that I was sort of in the finance world at that time, I was embarrassed to not really understand how buying a home actually worked. And this is really sort of pre even YouTube being a big thing, or it just, we weren't as conditioned to go online and really learn as much as we are now, where now
Right.
I mean, my whole home is connected with Google. I literally, we just ask out loud, hey, what about
Yeah.
this or that? And
Yeah.
but that didn't exist back then. And so
Right.
I know I was a little embarrassed to even reach out to find out. And I'm thinking, I'm just curious, and I know you do mostly sales, of course,
Yep.
but
We've done some
I
rentals too.
think
Yeah.
agents miss out on rental opportunities, not as a way to get to become wealthy, and rentals, I guess you could be, but rentals are a great way to start a relationship, I think.
100%. And actually, that's how Josh mostly got started. Because back when he started, he went to like, I forgot what he says. I don't want to butcher the story, but he went to like his old college campus and basically was like helping people find rentals and
Yes, that's
crushed
right.
it. Yeah. So yeah, I haven't done a ton of rentals. I mean, I've obviously done some. Yeah, I mean, I regularly reach out to them, and just say, let me know when you're ready to buy. And a couple have, and I know a couple will, when
Yeah,
the lease is up next year. And I've, listen, a lot of agents, especially if they're top producers, and I can't blame them, like they don't want to do it because let's be
sure.
honest, like you're not making that much and you're doing kind of
Right.
just as much work. Like that's the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
But you have to think big picture. And for somebody who's newer, like myself or anyone else, the renters eventually turn into buyers, right? Whether it's in a
Yeah.
year, 3 years, 5 years, and guess what? Then they sell, and then they buy again, and they refer you. So, you kind of have to think big picture. Like, okay, I might only make $600 on this, but if they buy in a year, good for me.
Right.
So, yeah, like I said, I've done maybe 5 or 6 rentals, which is hardly anything. But those ones that I have done, yeah, I do. I stay in regular touch with them, and they know I'm here when they're ready to buy, and we talk about it. And when they're ready, again, I'm not that pushy, and I'm here. So yeah, I think it's a great way to do it. And people who choose not to are just missing another opportunity, honestly.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
sounds like the main theme of what you do is personal connection. It's a
A
lot
hundred
of,
percent. It's everything.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really sort of anticipating someone's needs through the process. It's sort of
Yeah.
understanding, okay, my job is to make sure this goes as smoothly as possible. So
Right.
I'm going to be the problem solver, which by the way, it takes up a huge part of an agent's day, right? Like
Oh yeah.
finding new business, that takes up some part of an agent's day. Maybe that's an hour. But I always, Brian Buffini was sort of famous for saying, if there's an 8-hour day, he said, if you could spend 1 hour looking for business, you're a superstar, because you're going to be spending at least 6 or 7 of the other 7 hours working with your existing clients. But
Yep. Yep.
so you don't have to spend all day looking for business, but if you can just do a few
And
things, hey, I'm thinking about you, text,
yep.
or happy
I
birthday. Yeah,
yep. Yeah. I don't, Josh kind of helps bring in leads and stuff only because he's been doing it longer,
sure.
hopefully in another 5 years, I'll have the same thing. But most of your day, yeah, I mean, I focus on the people you do have as clients, right? So many agents are like, how can I find more? How can I find more? And it's like, well, you have 10 buyers you're working with, and like maybe start, I've, as we all know, agents listening, there's no inventory right now. So I have like 6 buyers all ready to go, pre-approved, ready to write tomorrow, but we can't find anything. So like maybe spend your days, Josh and I are, a top 10% producing team. So we have access to off market stuff, which any other top producer also does, but not everyone, obviously. So
Right.
we utilize that. I mean, I found a lot of clients in the past properties via off market stuff. The reality is all the good stuff will sell off market. So it's, focus your time looking on those to find the clients you do have stuff, or like, I've knocked on doors before. I have clients who only want to be in a certain building. Okay, use your marketing dollars with your brokerage to get postcards made and literally spend 4 hours a day and go slide them under the door. I'm about to do that this week for a client. So like, spend your time on the people you actually have as clients. Like the new ones will come organically. At least that's my mindset. And that's how I want them to come, right? I mean, there are agents that spend 30 grand a month on Zillow, which, I can't even financially do that right now. But even if I could, it's like, there's no connection. It's like they meet at the property, they know
It's
nothing about
tough.
them.
Yeah,
It's like,
they're
hi, I'm
tough.
Heather. That's not the type of client I want. I'd rather do less
And
business.
and
And
also there's a thing too that and I look, Zillow has been a guest on our show, and we're actually
Yep.
hopefully going to be bringing Zillow back as a little sneak for everyone. We're in
Yeah.
discussions with
Amazing.
them. We're big fans, um, that and there's look, I mean, there's a thing too about being a woman, right? And your picture's there, and sometimes people
Yep.
might choose you for maybe not as completely honest of a reason, right?
Oh
Or they
yeah,
might,
it happens.
and I'm sure that's happened, and there's safety considerations with that as
Yep.
well, and there's just a lot. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's certainly, gosh, we have I've interviewed tons of people who buy Zillow leads, and
Oh
I
yeah,
think
I
it's
wasn't
great.
saying anything bad. I wish I could have more,
No, I know you weren't,
but
but
people,
it
yeah,
is, it is like something that what Heather's saying is there is no, you really have to work to build that connection with this stranger, and typically you're going to
yeah,
meet them for the first time at the property, and that's just
yeah.
tough to do. It's
It
just
is,
tough.
and you're trying to sell them on your personality. And listen, the reality is, even if you get a Zillow lead, they have no commitment to you. You might spend a whole day showing them 17 properties, and if they didn't vibe with you, then guess what? They're never going to call you again. So, I again would rather have it organically and referrals. Obviously, it's the best.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up. Heather, you've given so
Yeah,
much great value, and I want to definitely invite you to come back on the show, maybe in a few
yeah.
years when you're just like, once you hit 30, and then I want to see where you're at,
Yes.
because the fact that you did 13.5 million your first year, and it wasn't like business was really just handed to you. I know you have a great mentor, and Josh is a lovely guy, and certainly helped along the way, but you really,
100%.
it's really clear that you've put the work in, and which
Yeah.
is, I'm sure, why Josh brought you on. And I think
Yes, we
that,
work well together.
yeah, and I think it's just about fundamentals, hard work, discipline, staying in touch with people, showing that you care about them,
Yep.
and providing incredible value. And I think for everyone listening, make this the year that you develop relationships with contractors, developers. Go spend an afternoon in a contractor's office and just say, I just want to talk to you about, I come across buyers all the time. I show them places, the cabinets suck,
Yep.
the granite sucks,
Yep.
or what should I be quoting them as far as time, money, how easy is this to do? And then, oh yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Contractor, I'm going to give you all the business once it
Yep.
happens, but I want to learn so that when somebody walks in, they don't go, oh, that kitchen's really gross. Be
Yeah.
like, no problem, for 20 grand. And we can even work it into the deal somehow.
Yeah.
We can get that fixed out, or maybe it's 5 grand or whatever the amount
Yeah.
is. That is an incredible value that most
Oh, it's
agents
huge.
don't have.
And I've had almost every seller and buyer of mine I've used, I've given that speech to, and they've all utilized it. So it's never going to go. And, my last little advice is always have more than one contractor, because contractors can be flaky, just like anyone else can be. And you never know. And a lot of times clients want more than one quote. So you should try
Sure.
to make connections with multiple people, and just have, multiple resources you can call when you need to.
Awesome. Well, Heather, Heather, we didn't mention Heather's social media. What's the best way if any one of our
Yeah.
audience wants to learn more about you and follow you? How should they do that?
Yeah. My Instagram, my gosh, I need to get better at it. It's just my first and last name put together. So Heather Ditlevsen, maybe I'll put the handle in the bio or something. My last name I know is a million letters long, but it's just first, last name smushed together. They can also reach out to me directly. You can put my number in here if you need. I'm always happy to meet a coffee. If you're buying, if you're selling, if you're in the industry, whatever you need, I'm here. I love making new friends. So whatever.
Yeah, Heather's extraordinarily generous with her time. She's a lovely person. And you just got back from vacation, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can tell me. I'm hopefully a little tan.
You look really tan. Where'd you
Yeah,
go?
I was in Tulum for 6 days. It was amazing.
I've only been to Tulum as a day trip from
Oh my God.
Cancun.
Yes. So Tulum's about 2 hours away from Cancun.
Yeah.
So it's its own little, I kept calling it an island. My friend's like, we're not on an island, Heather. I'm like, okay, well,
we're in the mainland.
but yeah, it's one strip of road and everything's on that road. And if people have been, they know what I'm talking about, but everyone should go. I went with a couple of girlfriends. It was by far the best week of my life. I'm already depressed. I'm back here. I just got back late yesterday. So yeah, it was an amazing week, and ready to dive right back in now.
Did you go to any of the, I think they're called cenotes,
Cenotes, yes,
yeah.
we did 3 of them. Yeah, the cenotes, for anyone listening, is kind of like, there's different kinds, but yeah, you kind of swim
They're
underwater.
An underground pool
underground,
of
like rocks,
warm water.
pools. Yeah, we did a tour on the one. We went to 3 different ones. Yeah, they're very inexpensive. It's like $20 to go to them usually.
Yeah.
yeah, it was very cool. And whoever decides to follow me, I'm sorry, but you'll see a million pictures for the next month of Tulum.
Did you?
So
And then next time, if you're in that area, you should go to Chichen Itza as well. That's
yes, we wanted to, but we did. Yeah, and there's also like the Mayan ruins. There's just,
yeah, there's a
but
lot.
then you also just want to lay on the beach and be lazy. There's a lot to do.
Right.
It could honestly, 2 weeks would have been amazing, but it's very, very expensive down there, way more than we thought too. So,
Oh, really? Is it's expensive
yeah,
now?
the food, the drinks, there's a lot of cute boutiques. I bought some clothes down there. Everything is very, very pricey. Just keep that in mind for anyone going. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing. So everyone should go.
Well, great. Well, we appreciate, and Heather was so sweet to be here basically on our first day back, which nobody wants to do this on their first day back. So I appreciate it.
I am very grateful. Thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited. You have such a great energy to you, and I love talking to new agents who are so happy and they're excited about this industry, and it really, our audience loves it. So for everyone listening, please follow Heather on Instagram. We will put the link to her Instagram, Heather Ditlevsen, in the show notes. You can click through right there and check out what she's all about and reach out to her. She's a super generous person. If you have questions or just suggestions, she would be loved to talk with you as well. So send her an email.
I'll buy Starbucks coffee. Let's do it.
Wonderful. Well, Heather, thank you so much on behalf of our listeners and our viewers. Thank you so much for being on our show. We appreciate it. We know how busy you are, and really honor you for taking the time. And on behalf of Heather and myself, we want to thank our listeners and viewers for continuing to support our show. And we are at an all-time high as far as downloads, and that is not anything other than because our listeners tell other people about our show. So thank you so much. We are, I think, in our 5th or 6th year of doing the show, and we have more downloads than we've ever had. And so please continue to tell a friend. If you could just think of one other real estate professional that could benefit from hearing this wonderful conversation with Heather, send them a link to our website is probably the best way to do it. Every episode we've ever done is you can stream right from our site, which is keepingitrealpod.com, or if the person you're referring to is already a podcast listener, just have them pull up search for Keeping It Real, hit the subscribe button. And one last thing that we're asking everyone to do, please leave us a review. Whatever type of app you might be listening to our show through, whether it's iTunes or now called Apple Podcasts, or it's Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, Google Play, anything, just let us know what you think of the show. This helps us improve and also helps us get in front of more people to help. So thank you so much, Heather. We appreciate you. This is a lot of fun, and we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Heather.
Yay. Thanks. Bye, guys.